Good day, everybody. Thank you for actually joining this kickoff of our learning journey. It's actually the main theme is actually how to attract and retain your business central professionals. Actually, my name is Herman van Leeuwen, and I'm here together with Vincent, my colleague from Plataan. So, Vincent, maybe a short introduction from your side.
Okay, so my name is Vincent. I work for Platan, and basically we are busy with learning, developing learning content, providing training, working for Microsoft Learn and so on since 2005. So that's quite a long number of years. So basically, we are there to support and help the partner ecosystem with training, with the skilling and upskilling of employees.
Yeah, and thank you, Vincent. Thank you also for joining. So, my name is Herman. I'm from Companial. I'm working for Companial already 10 years, and in the last 10 years, we developed our company as a more or less a global distributor of the Dynamics products. We are a so-called value-added distributor, and we have all kind of services where we serve all our 1,000 partners. And one of the services is, of course, learning. That's why we have Vincent in the goal. Vincent, with Platan, we are working actually, I think, for many years together, serving our partners with training. And actually, today we want to actually expose something which is completely new. Actually, to us, it's actually like a game changer, like moving from on-premise to the cloud. Actually, just before we talked about that, PowerPoint is actually even working better in an on-premise situation, but the rest is, of course, all in the cloud. And today, actually, we want to discuss that with you. We made a very easy presentation for you. Actually, the objective, you can read it, but the objective, of course, is actually to teach you, to learn you how you can attract and retain your business central talent. And well, this is the agenda. It's maybe you know it from the golden circle, the why, how, and what. So just to make it easy for you, I think the total presentation the duration of the total presentation will be around 1 hour. So let's get started, Vincent. I will start with the why. Actually, it all starts with the why because actually, if you look at the strategies behind the businesses of our partners, and as you know, we have 1,000 partners across Europe. Actually, you see that, well, there are three strategies. And actually, if you look at our ISVs, of course, they have the strategy to serve the end customers with the best product. If you look at our VARs, they are actually serving the best total solution using probably one of the best products. And we have also a few of SIs, they are focusing on best total cost. But you will probably recognize yourself as an ISV of a VAR. And what's actually in common of all these strategies that it all comes down actually just to actually one picture. Because if you want to grow your revenue, you will have to grow your capacity. So actually your people, not only in quantity but also in quality. So make sure that they have the right skill set, not for today but also for the future. And if you look at skill set and developing of the skill set, it's not just about the recruitment and the retention. It's actually the whole cycle, which we call the employee life cycle, which actually starts with the attraction, then moving on to the recruit, then an important step, the onboarding phase, then the retention phase, then development, make sure that they have the right skill set also for the future. And then one which is really unknown, more or less, is actually the separation phase where people maybe go to retire or leave your company, which is actually also helping attraction. And if you look at all these steps, these phases in the employee life cycle, you see that capacity is not just a word, it's actually having a lot of different angles. And maybe, Vincent, I hand over to you. Maybe you can talk a little bit about capacity in these different angles.
Yeah, for sure, Ivan. So, like you said, capacity is really important in our business model. So, I think it's good if we try to understand what capacity basically is. And capacity is our ability to produce output, let's say. And if you take Business Central partners, what is the output that we produce? It's basically implementation hours, it is configuration hours, it is the number of lines of code we produce. And basically to do that, we need people. So your linkage with the employee lifecycle and capacity is of course very correct, because we are talking in our business model mostly about people. So, and the question is, what is the maximum output that we can produce with these people in our organization? And then, of course, it determines how many people do we have, what is their level of experience, how well are they trained, how skilled are they? That all determines how much output, maximum output, that we can produce. So it's about the quantity of people that we have. It is about the quality of people that we have. But of course, there are other dimensions that play here as well. Many dimensions, like let's say, and we don't have time to discuss all of them. But of course, besides the quantity and the quality of people that you have on board, it's also about the efficiency of utilization and the effectiveness of the overall organizational system. And as you know, Herman, we are a little bit in a transition period where that let's say that the essence of most of our business models in the past was like mostly time and material kind of business models. We are now shifting in the overall partner system towards more product delivery kind of business models because of the cloud model. So we are in transformation. So I think that all of these dimensions will become more and more important. But for now, for also for this session, we can definitely say that in any business model, the number of people that we have and the quality of people and how we can utilize them is critical in the definition or the determination of our capacity. And here I have two examples, two simple examples. You have two consulting firms, two IT implementation consulting firms. One of these firms has a lot of people on board. They are a very big company, but the teams that are busy with Business Central, for instance, they are lacking significant knowledge. They don't have the right skills, and that might limit the capacity of that huge company with a lot of people. While on the other hand, you have a smaller company with a smaller team, but they're all very experienced. They have a lot of skills. They are really linked with the sector that this company is serving. And then you see that the capacity can be even much higher than the capacity of that smaller firm. So it's not only about the quantity of people that you have, it's also about the quality. And let's say the experience levels, the skills levels, and so on. And I think, Herman, you had some facts here as well that were linked to the situation.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, if you look at well the past, but also the experience we have as companions, that you see actually that skills are actually the biggest constraint. We did an investigation among our partners, and less than 4% of our partners, they don't have challenges with skills. So you see that there is a lot of attention, but there is also a big need of skills in our community. And actually, we can't increase actually the skill set because everybody's also, actually fishing in the same pond. As you can see, over 45, it's
It's fine. I'll just cut it.
Yeah, can we restart from this slide then?
Yeah, we can restart from this slide.
Because otherwise we keep on.
No. We will restart from this slide and I will cut it. It's not a problem. Don't worry, we will start from this slide. So if you can.
It's unbelievable.
No, but I'm actually thinking it's so good that we are recording it.
It's so
Yeah.
funny. Okay, but you hand over to me, huh?
Yeah.
Vincent? Yeah.
Okay.
But I
Are
don't
you
take
ready?
control. I don't
Are
take
you
control.
ready?
So you can
Yeah, no.
continue afterwards,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, correct. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
ja, zeg
Okay.
jij maar eerst dan.
Okay. Okay, Herman, I think you have some interesting facts also linked to this.
Yeah. So as you can read, we are already facing these challenges for many years. Back in 2021, you already saw that skills were the biggest constraint, and actually we did an investigation among our 1,000 partners, and less than 4% have not challenges with skills. So you see that, it's really top of mind, but you also see that they are all fishing more or less in the same pond. So actually we need to change the way we train our skills, I think. But secondly, we also have to change that we need that our partners or our ecosystem is not fishing in the same pond anymore, but also looking to new groups, new other ponds actually, and even to new hires, Vincent.
Yeah, and I think also, Herman, if you look at this, if you see that the average age of the workforce is nearly 43 years old,
That's
then we
because of
can,
us, Vincent.
yeah, probably. But then you can say that within the partner ecosystem, we have a rather older workforce, and we are recruiting as the source of our recruitment is the same partner ecosystem. Then probably you know that this kind of mechanism is ending, and then the fact that we need to recruit and find new hires in other sources, let's say, it will gain more and more importance over the years, right? Am I
Yeah.
correct here? Yeah.
Yeah, and as you stated in the previous slide, Vincent, most of our partners are the smaller partners, so they don't have their own HR department or recruitment. They, of course, have an HR manager, but recruitment is not one of their biggest skills, let me say that. So we also have to improve over there and adapt the right technologies and the right skills also there to make them aware that they have to recruit.
So I think we can now summarize saying like, well, for the upcoming years, we need to find new sources, new ways of recruiting new people into the channel, even for people, for organizations that don't have HR departments. And also we need to make sure that we can skill and retain the people that we have recruited. Um, so I think when we will look a little bit at the challenges that are ahead of us, it's basically recruit and retain, let's say. So if we want to determine the capacity with people, then it's about recruit and retain in first instance. We talked about also that it's about the utilization model and the business model, but for now we're going to focus on recruit and retain. And I think what the message here is that we need to make it a balancing act, because both recruit and retain, they have advantages, they have very good goals, but they also have a number of disadvantages if you don't balance it. So for instance, let's assume that your model is entirely focused on retaining the people that you have. And that is good, of course, because if you do so, then you will maintain the knowledge that you have on board. You will maintain the experience that you have as an organization. And it's also really good to maintain your relationships within the organization. So basically, by doing so, you keep a lot of knowledge in the organization, and you reduce the costs that are associated with recruiting and turnover. So basically, you could say, wow, that's a good model, let's do that. But of course, there are also some risks or disadvantages attached to that. And that is, for instance, that your organization will become less and less, let's say, focused on learning new things. Disengagement steps into your organization, the motivation levels go lower. And those are known facts of organizations that don't have enough in stream of new people. And of course, so you will get a lot of resistance to change, and your workforce will become much more expensive over the years. So basically, I don't think for our business that this would be the right model, right, Herman?
No, yeah, and I just read an article from LinkedIn that you see that the retainment of employees, so that that will grow if the employees see that their employer is really investing in knowledge. So even 93% of the employees are telling that if their employer would have invested in their knowledge, they will not leave the company. And that's a
Yeah,
huge number.
Yeah. So what you're saying is if you want to work on retain, you should invest in their knowledge, right? Because
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, that brings us to the other topic, which is recruit. So let's assume that you say, well, we have difficulties in retaining our people because we don't invest in them or they are not happy in our organization. So we are recruiting them all the time. And then, of course, you know that when you're recruiting all the time, you will probably have a lot of higher costs associated with that because turnover generates a lot of costs for your organization. So basically, that's why you want to retain your people, because it's the return on investment of your recruitment cost, right? So
Yeah.
with recruiting new people, you are expanding the talent pool. You are working on the numbers there to increase your capacity. So more people is more capacity, or is an element to get more capacity. You will have new skills and experience coming on board, new perspectives, new ideas, new generations of people.
Yeah.
Because also that's something that we need to see, that if you see that the average workforce was about 43 years old in the BC channel, I think we need new generations, and that will be millennials and that will be Generation Z people. So we need to prepare ourselves to get these people on board in our organization and have them performing. So if you are recruiting, that's the thing that you're doing. But of course, it's a little bit costly recruiting, because it's not only the recruitment process, it's also the attraction process that you need to do. And you'd be
Yeah. And
surprised.
also even the onboarding process, Vincent, is critical, right?
Yeah. And of course, that will also divert a lot of other people in your organization, their attention, their hours, to make sure that this is working well. Because if you don't do that, they won't retain in your organization, and you will have made those costs for nothing. So it is a balancing act between recruit and retain. Yeah. And like you said, we in the BC channel, we have a lot of organizations that do not have HR departments or people focused on that. So I think it's a challenge basically for typical BC partners. Yeah. So those are the general theoretical kind of perspectives about capacity, recruit, retain. But we have very good, I would say, common sense kind of reasons why we need to invest in our people. And the first reason is we are in the ERP business, and implementing ERP systems in small, mid-sized, and even larger organizations is a complex thing. And your employees, they will need the skills. You cannot just deploy people with not enough skills. That's not good for them, not good for your customers. So your customers deserve the experts as well. It's complicated business. You need experts. Your people are only finding confidence when they have enough skills. And of course, your customers need those experts as well, because otherwise the quality is not guaranteed. Candidates, and certainly, like we said before, millennial people, people from Generation Z, they are really looking for opportunities for themselves, opportunities to learn, opportunities to grow. They want to have the bigger perspective. And also, when they start in your organization, they need confidence. It's known for Generation Z that they really have feel a need for a lot of confidence before they can start really going into the field. So if you want them to perform in your organization, you need to give them confidence, right? And the possibility of self development, the need for confidence, that's of course very important if you want to retain them. And that's all linked with the possibilities for them to learn and to develop themselves, right? What we also know with common sense, and we see it happening every day, is that the BC channel, the Microsoft 365 system, the cloud system, it's transforming rapidly. I even didn't mention AI, which is also coming our way. So we are in a transformational business. The BC channel now and the BC channel in 3 years will not be the same. So if our industry transforms, our employees transform as well. And we still know that we have a lot of people that are just every day, for instance, BC developers, they are not doing anything else than coding in CIL and Seaside even today in 2023. They need to transform because they cannot continue doing that for the coming 5 years. So there is a need for transformation. And out of science and maybe out of experience, we also know that in this context, the having a learning organization is much more important than it ever was. So having a learning organization is something that in times when things are transforming and the level of innovation is really high, then you need to have a learning organization in place. And learning organizations perform much better than organizations that don't learn out of their projects, that don't learn out of their mistakes, that don't learn in terms of skills of all the people that are on board. So we really need to strive to become a learning organization in the BC channel, I think. And then also, we also know that we have highly educated people, or we need highly educated people in our sector, or people with a lot of motivation and a lot of ambition. And we also know there that if they can self-manage their development, that's that they are much more motivated, and that's because the link between those two is actually autonomy. So if they can take autonomy about their own learning, about their own development, then they are much more motivated to learn more. So that's also very important, I think, in what at the moment that we are now in the BC channel. And this also brings me to a nice graph, I think, of Gartner. Herman, you know what Gartner is?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And the first time you showed me this picture, it was, well, I was really astonished about this picture because what's happening over here, Vincent?
Yeah, well, I think it's quite simple what you can see, but I think it's an eye opener of the showing us the importance of the ability to acquire new skills. So what we see here in the dark blue are, let's say skills that we have acquired over the years, skills that we have in the organization for many years, and this shows the relative importance of these skills compared with new skills. And you can see the further we go into time, the more or the higher the importance is of the new skills. So you see by the end of this graph, you can see that the new skills are even more important than the other skills. And of course, we all know that organizations like Microsoft and Gartner, they're always predicting the future, so they are always a little bit ahead of us. But I think that this is the reality as of now. I think that our ability to acquire and leverage new skills in our teams and do things with these new skills, I think that will be one of the keys for success. That will be one of the keys of driving capacity. So this is really important, and I think that Gartner also correctly stated that in this context, you cannot continue with the older training and learning models. People need to learn all the time. People need to learn whenever it is relevant for them, and that can be now any moment. In the past, we had enough with 1 or 2 trainings for our people, and then they could work for years with that knowledge. Those days are over. I think also, Herman, you understand that we have the BC level, but we also have the importance of our platform. We have the importance of, for instance, AI now. So it's only going to change, right?
Yeah, the biggest USP actually is actually selling and implementing the complete platform. It's not just ERP anymore, like we did 20 years ago, Vincent, but it's a wide set. It's actually the platform. And that also means that you have to invest actually continuously in your skills because otherwise you can't keep up and you are actually outdated. Look at these graphs. So you are outdated. It looks like 50% of your skills you acquired actually 4 years ago are more or less now outdated.
Yeah. So I think, and also the importance of this graph is that this picture was found by also looking at the job postings that all these companies have in the sector. So it is not, something they invented or predicted just from. it's really what you can find in job advertisements in this period. So this ability is really important. We need to be able to acquire new skills and leverage them in our organizations. Yeah. But also what we have learned from science, and you can learn a lot of science. So this is only one slide with a few bullet points, but it's very important to onboard your people the moment they come into your organization. And onboarding your people structurally and methodically is totally different from saying like, hey, we have a nice welcome day, and here is your present, and here is your laptop. That's fine, that's nice, but that's not where onboarding ends. And onboarding can take 6 months, 1 year, or even longer in some cases. So very important to onboard your people correctly. And one of the elements that science says that is important in onboarding is that your people have access to the right training programs the moment they step into your organization. That correlates with their stay in your organization. So it's an element of retaining. And why is that? Because these people will see whether or not your promise of training them is a reality or not. And if it's not, they will look at you and they will become critical. And if specifically with millennials and Generation Z, if they see for weeks that you're not providing that promised training, they will lose their confidence. So opportunities for learning and development, they correlate with job satisfaction and career development, and these two elements correlate with the period of stay in your organization. Yeah. So basically, you need to make sure that your people have training, that they have the possibility for learning, that they see these opportunities, that they can start immediately, and that will help them to drive motivation, satisfaction, and engagement. So if they are engaged in your organization, they will stay longer. One of the things also for us, which is really important, is that when you look at that graph again from Gartner and what Gartner says about training, is that we can't deliver that anymore with a traditional model. You can't do that with scheduled public trainings only. It's impossible because you cannot fill in that continuous need for learning. You only have a few sessions of each training a year, and that's it, and that's not enough. So we have to do that with online training models, which are available all the time. But science says if you want to do that right, it needs to be active training, case-based training, problem-centric training focused on real tasks. And I think that we have done that with our online programs now. And also online programs should also be supported by staff, meaning that people that are following an online training, they should get access to a trainer with questions that they have. Does that make sense, Herman?
Yeah. I recognize that because if I follow training, I also want to be, well, more or less a little bit handhold. So make sure that I get the support and that I have somebody to ask questions, even during the online training. That's why if I just use, for instance, Microsoft Learn, I have a repository of, well, all kind of training, online training, but I really don't know where to start, which course to take, and so on. So I recognize that, Vincent.
Okay, good. So now we
So,
can move
so
to the
yeah. Actually, if we summarize everything, it can really and we plot the strategy and what you have told us of teached us actually, Vincent, to one picture. It comes to a few action you have to take as a partner, and Companial is your center of expertise. We are, well, actually focusing on helping our partners. And if you look at all these elements, we need to encourage our partners actually to position themselves, to promote themselves actually as the employer of choice. I think that's for many of them very new, to really to attract people in different poles, as I stated. And then secondly, once they've found the right candidates, they have to offer them directly these learning programs. You talked about these new generations. They really see that for them it's critical that their new employer is really investing in their skills and in their knowledge. And once they have boarded, they want to have direct proof. So really, they want to start actually immediately because for them it's quite normal that on day one you directly start with developing your knowledge because for them it's probably already culture that they have embedded actually to develop their skills actually on more or less on a daily basis. So they are constantly working with them. And then in the retention phase, it's especially important to respond fast on the skills needed, especially when we are moving to, well, the more wide set of products, so offering actually the whole stack of Microsoft. And as a consultant, as a developer, you also want to have the right skills. If you receive questions from your customer, that you can answer them. And then from a development perspective, autonomy, it's important, and everybody wants to develop themselves. I know for sure that many of our colleagues or many professionals in our network did a lot of self-education. So it's important to offer them also the possibility to, well, define their own route, their own goals in developing their skills. And once they are separate the company, then make sure that they leave as an ambassador, that they are happy, because that really drives again the traction. So in total, this is actually what we think as Companion we should focus on and where we should help our partners in, well, improving all these different steps. So back to you, Vincent. Maybe you can explain us what we have done together and what we are going to offer or what we are offering our partners from now on.
Yeah. Okay, Herman. I think that brings us to the what. What have we created basically to fill in that how thing and these needs. And what we have done is we created to start with we created learning journeys, and the learning journey part needs to fill in the real learning, the skilling, the upskilling, the reskilling kind of part. The transformation of employees in BC organizations, and it will allow BC partners to onboard new hires the first day that they come into the organization, but also it will facilitate, the autonomy and self-development and the retention basically of people in the organization by providing them access to great learning programs. So that is done by the learning journeys. We will see them in a little while in more detail. And on top of that, we also have the EVP toolkits created. And the EVP toolkit, I don't know, Herman, EVP, do you know what that stands
Yeah, it
for?
was also completely new, but I've in the meantime I've learned that it stands for Employee Value Proposition Toolkit, and it's quite
Absolutely.
common in HR ecosystems. But to me, it was completely new.
Yeah. So it's about your employee value proposition. So basically, it's about employee branding. It's about HR branding. It's about trying to make your company as a brand attractive for potential new hires. And how do you do that with new generations that we need to address? How do you do that with millennials? How do you do that with Generation Z people? That is basically our challenge, and that's also where the EVP toolkits will give you guidance and tools on how to do that. Does that sound interesting, Herman?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
So
curious
let's
behind the details.
Yeah, so let's have a look a little bit. So the EVP Toolkit is a tool to help partners with employee branding to empower their recruit and retain communication. So this is about communicating to the outside world, but also communicating internally. And within that communication, we're going to try to help you to empower your brand to your people, and not just by saying like. Well, we are really good in delivering BC solutions for customers. But what we are going to say is basically something like, we are investing in you. We are investing in you as a new hire. We are investing in you as a person in our organization, and explaining a little bit what the possibilities are that you have. And what this toolkit includes is like a set of narratives. It's really texts that you can use in social media, that are optimized to bring that message to, for instance, Generation Z people. It also includes things like banners, carousel posts, videos that you can use to make basically a better promise of your organization to these new people coming into your company. Also important is that so here you can see an example. So what is included? So you have the videos, you have the posts, you have a manual, and so on. So companies that want to work with us to improve the recruit and retain, they can get learning journeys, but also this toolkit to basically help them establish a better brand. I think it's also important to see that if you are a bigger organization and you have an HR department and you have a marketing department, you can use this as a starting point to change maybe the communication, to use this as tips and tricks and some new drive basically to restart a different communication outside. But if you are a smaller company and you don't have a marketing department and you don't have an HR department, you can use it one-on-one like we created it and just put your label and brand on it. So I think it's perfect for both types of organizations.
Yeah, and it's currently mainly, of course, as stated, mainly focusing on the recruitment phase. But I can also imagine, Vincent, that it also works in the retainment phase, because also for your internal communication,
Absolutely.
put yourself as an employer of choice will also help to
Yeah.
in the retainment phase, right?
Yeah, really correct, Herman. And in the toolkit, you even can see the breakdown between recruit communication and retain communication. So it's really in there, and it's a good use case for this as well. Okay, good.
Okay.
Then have a look at the learning journey. So basically, I already explained a little bit. The learning journeys are there to fill in, let's say, the skilling, the upskilling, and the transformation of people in your organization. It's about continuous learning. So it's about autonomy in learning. So that means that if I'm an employee of your organization or a new hire and I come in, I can log into the learning journey and I can immediately start my learning. And as a new hire, I will see like, okay, these are the levels where I need to start. But I might be an experienced person, and then I can see in the learning journey like, okay, I want to learn something today about Power Platform, or today I need something about Power BI, or today I need something about manufacturing, or about service management, or about advanced levels of coding. I can find it in the learning journey and activate it as I need it today. And that is what learning journeys are there to facilitate the self learning of people linked with with their needs in your organization. And it's basically putting together of different types of programs. So inside of learning journeys, we have Business Central booster programs, online programs facilitated by an instructor, but we also have the ILT live webinars there. So all these programs, they're always available, engaging. It's supported by an instructor. It's case-based. It's realistic, and also it's dynamical. So what we have today is what we have today, but it will not be the same as tomorrow, because we will update programs and we will add programs all the time. So it's their design content basically for long-term professional development. So what we have today is even enough for a new hire to learn for 2 years, let's say. Yeah. So it includes a lot of material, a lot of good learning for new hires and experienced people.
Yeah, and after these 2 years, you constantly add, of course, new programs. So actually, it's not only 2 years. After these 2 years, then new content is already added again, right?
Yeah, correct. And we are updating all the time. So we also have a team with MVPs that are updating the existing content continuously. So
Mm.
new programs, updates, it's all included.
Well, maybe it's good to mention, Vincent, that you are also developing, or that Microsoft asked you also to develop the content for the Microsoft Learn on BC, so that you are always on top of the latest developments regarding BC, right?
Yeah, correct. And I think Microsoft Learn and Microsoft Docs is really important in our learning as well, because they represent what we had in the past in the classroom as a manual. So what we had as a manual in the class is today the Microsoft Learn in the online program. And what we do is we learn people to use Microsoft Learn. We learn people to use Microsoft Docs. We learn people to use blocks because it's in the learning mix that we have today. What we do with our programs is add content on top of that, add value from the instructor, add case-based labs, add support. So that's all the added value that we have on top of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do these learning journeys look like, Vincent?
Well, we have here a diagram, and maybe in first instance is a little bit difficult to see, but we work with categories, like you're a new hire or you are experienced, for instance. And what are your challenges is to become proficient or to transform or to progress to higher and more complicated levels of knowledge. That is basically our basic setup of guidance towards people on what to learn. And what you can see is that we have BC programs, but we also have Power Platform programs, for instance. And whatever becomes relevant in the future for us, we will add that to the learning journey. You also can see that we have certificates there. So you can see these little symbols, and that means at the end of the program, we have assessments. And when people pass the assessment, they get a badge, they get a certificate to show their skills.
Okay, and that's not. And can you tell me a little bit about the Microsoft certificates, because these are the booster certificates?
Yeah, correct. So these are the booster certificates. At this moment, Microsoft only has one certificate, and that's the MB800 for functional consultants. We might get a new certification. I think it will be MB820 or something, which will be for the developer, for the BC developer, but it's not there yet. It will come, I think, in the next fiscal. So for now, we only have MB800, and so that's for the functional consultant. All our functional programs within the learning journey are preparing for that exam. So we have specific exam preparation in there, and all the content is leveraged. But of course, you still need to take the exam itself at Microsoft certified kind of exam organization. So that's not within.
That's separate. Yeah.
That's separate. Something you need to do separate. Yeah.
But
We do
it's
the
just the
preparation.
exam. Yeah.
Yeah. But of course, you can also see that Microsoft doesn't have any exam for manufacturing, for service management, for warehouse, and we have those certificates in our learning journeys. So let's say we filled in the gaps.
Yeah. So we have these business central boosters. They are part of the learning journeys, right?
Yep. Yeah. So you can see that here in blue are the booster programs, or in black. And in orange, you can see are the ILT webinars. So if it's bulk scope, a lot of learning, for instance, like 10 or 15 days in the classroom, we have created a booster program. And basically the ILT webinars, they are more focused on specific scope and only take 1 or 2 days, let's say. So,
okay.
Yeah. So, and maybe I think for today that's enough. If I'm right, we still have an upcoming session later on where we are going to go in more detail, Herman.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So on the 21, we have a separate session. So on the 21 of March.
Yeah. So for now, I think this is enough about learning journeys and EVP Toolkit. Maybe important, I think, for our online programs, we have more than 2,000 participants already in these sessions. We also received a community award from Directions last year for the booster program. We have a lot of reference cases, and we really have a lot of very satisfied participants, and we are really happy with that.
That's good, Vincent.
So I think maybe it's now time for Herman to take
Yeah.
the next slide.
Yeah. Let's talk about some pricing, right? Because, well, what we actually did together with Platan is just to make sure that, well, the learning journeys are accessible actually for everybody, but actually also which actually we have priced them that you can actually see it as training your whole company. So we have created these packs for, as you can see, for 10, 20 or 40 participants. And actually we have dropped the pricing. Well, I think it's around a cup of coffee a day or one chargeable hour per month, where you can follow actually the complete learning journey. So we have created these packages. We also have a single package for one participant for 1 year. And for your new hires, when you're not very sure, we even have an 1 month, one person contract, as you can see. As stated, it's an annual contract, so it's a seat-based principle. For the ones who are with us a long time, you know the concurrent users from Navision, this is more or less the same. But as stated, this is actually, you buy a plan for your employees for actually a lifetime, because this is actually continuous learning where you invest and constantly invest in the skills and knowledge of your employees for a fixed price per month. You also see the turning points, because from a pricing perspective, for instance, if you have 7 participants in the program, it's better to choose the pack of 10 participants, because that's cheaper than 7 times the one. So you have some turning points over there. Actually, you can buy that directly from the Companial website, or if you are a Companial member, so if you have a membership, you can use your service funds and work together with your PSM of Companial to order this pricing plan. And once you have ordered actually the pricing plan, actually the process is quite simple. We will ask you to give us the name of the manager. The manager will receive a dashboard, and in this dashboard he can actually board the students or participants of your company and also manage these students and participants. And actually, what we see today, we have boarded our first students in our learning journeys. Actually, the managers having the conversation with the student to see in which level they will enter. And of course, with the support of the instructors, the students will be guided actually through the learning journey as long as they are there. So actually, the call to action actually for today is actually take a look at our learning journeys, see where you invest today, because if you want to increase your capacity, as stated in the beginning, you have to invest in your employee life cycle. We offer you, together with Platan, I think a stunning toolkit, the EVP Toolkit, but also the continuous learning in the learning journeys against I think, a very attractive price. We are currently we have this launching prices for now. So make sure that you take a look at our website. You can download all the content over there. Make sure that you think about the EVP toolkit in your recruitment process. Think about a new way of learning. So not just buy a training once they need it, but embed actually continuous learning in your organization, and not only with just the consultants or just the developers. No, your whole organization. I think if you look at our pricing, it's a very small investment to embed actually continuous learning in your complete organization. So as stated, you can find some downloadables on our website. One is the price list, and the other where you find all the details regarding the pricing. And one is actually an explanation of the learning journeys. And secondly, we will host an extra webinar, as stated, on the 21st of March. That's actually on the short term. So if you have employees or HR managers or anyone who's interested in the learning journeys and you want us to explain about the learning journeys, please join our webinar. You find the link on our website. Just make sure that you register on our website. That's actually it for now, Vincent and Augusta. I think everything went very fine. If you have any questions, you will find our email address on our website. Please reach out to us for your comments. Also, suggestions are very welcome, so please reach out to us. And hopefully we can board you soon in our learning journey. Thank you for watching this video, and hope to speak to you soon. Vincent, Augusta, thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.